Okay, so in the films, Harry, played by Daniel Radcliffe, is characterized pretty hardcore straight from the text, with the exception of his eyes. And possibly his height, but I won't go into that for the sake of Daniel Radcliffe's dignity. Harry, in the books, is supposed to have inherited his green eye color from his mother, Lily. However, through the filming process, and Daniel being so young that wearing colored contact lenses would be very irksome, it was discovered that the color didn't matter so much so long as it matched his mother's eye color in the film. Thus, his eye color was adapted from green to blue. Another direct characterization that managed to make its way from page to scene is Harry's messy black hair. These schematic details, along with this, lightning bolt scar, are in the end what make us recognize Harry throughout all physical interpretations of him. According to David Bordwell, seeing is a bewildering flutter of impressions. This holds true throughout the different interpretations of Harry Potter that we've seen. These fluttering impressions are what make the viewers say, yes, that's Harry, that's the boy who lived. So if we go into indirect characterization, Harry is, through 7 books, 8 movies, and nearly endless games, plays, parks, illustrative works, and the like, the boy who lived. This characterization, no pun intended, lives on through all of these forms. However, this is where his characteristics differ from the books to the films. It is widely agreed that Harry in the books is much funnier, quick-witted, and generally quite goofy. Let's face it, he's a teenage boy, they're hilarious. At the same time, he develops a highly moody side, angsty and impulsive, and all around a general drama queen. In a way, this is an example of res cognitans. Harry's inner dialogue with himself is a characterization that is almost completely missing from the films. It's not until the much later films that we get to see examples of his wit and also his mood swings. For example, in the 6th film, The Half-Blood Prince, sometimes under the influence of Felix Felicis, this good luck potion that he takes, or love sickness, we finally see bits of Harry that are silly, and we get to see him starting to be almost carefree. So if we move on to Hermione and Emma Watson, Hermione had the extra aggravation on screen of having to be, to some degree, physically attractive. As consumers of media, we accept a book character, especially female ones, as less than attractive, goofy-looking, or simply as characters. But the moment she's made it to the silver screen, her frizzy hair becomes curly, her buck teeth and braces disappear, and her seemingly tan skin turns pleasantly olive. We make white viewers comfortable before including even the idea of diversity in casting. In the books, Hermione is described as having bushy hair, large front teeth, and braces. These imperfections allow her to be human, to grow, to change, and to learn about herself. For example, in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Hermione is hit with a jinx that makes her teeth grow even larger. While it is of course upsetting for her, it gives her the opportunity to change this aspect about herself. She goes to the school nurse, Madame Pomfrey, and has her teeth fixed to the degree that she no longer even needs her braces. This is in a way both an example of indirect and direct characterization for Hermione. We see her allowed to be a young girl with insecurities about her appearance, and the brains and the bravery to do something about it when given the chance. However, this is the kind of development we do not get to see in the films, as scenes like this were omitted in the interest of furthering Harry's plotline. While Emma Watson is a phenomenal actress who created a wonderful Hermione, she was still the easy acting and casting choice. She presented the most comfortable version of Hermione that the audience could possibly ask for. She is, of course, brave and brilliant, the brightest witch of her age. However, she is still trapped in the confines of how a predominantly patriarchally oppressed audience expects to see her on screen. The things that make her less desirable or less consumable as a character remain in the original text. Her constant compulsion to follow the rules, her staunch advocacy of house elf rights, her often abrasive nature is reformatted to fit the aesthetic of Emma Watson's film version of Hermione. Through this minimized and surgically altered version, we get a cut and clean Hermione. Brilliant and wonderful, yes, utilizing a broad vocabulary with ease, Harry and Ron simply do not speak that way. We get this comfortably Eurocentrically feminine Hermione. In time and with maturity, fans took Hermione under their collective wing to create someone that more people could relate to. This also happened in the stage production of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, where a black actress, Noma Dumez-Wenuas, was cast in the role of Hermione. Of course, we can say many of the same things for Ron and Rupert as we could for Emma and Hermione. In Ron, or Rupert's case, in the books, Ron is nearly as hot-headed as Harry, opinionated and fiercely loyal, a quality that is continuously put to the test, and the real similarity is in the character's aesthetic or physical appearance. Ron is the redhead, pale, freckled, with a crop of bright orange hair. He's the only one of the three that stays the same, sort of, all the way through the books and films. This is, however, only true of his direct characterization, looks, and his casting. When it comes to his indirect characterization, development, and inner understanding of himself, his growth is actually exponential. In the books, he is of course the loyal friend of Harry Potter, but also has far more of his own personal dialogue with his own battles and insecurities. For example, in Book 4, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, during the Quidditch World Cup, Ron believes he's paid Harry back for a pair of omnioculars. These crazy binoculars. They're cool, just read the book. But later it transpires that the money was fake and Harry never noticed. Must be nice not noticing when a pocket full of galleons goes missing. He's quoted as saying, "I hate being poor." This characterization, this detail of his personality, his insecurity of his poverty, is something that is very, very downplayed in the films. We see so much more of the struggle behind Ron and the Weasleys' poverty in the books than we do in the films. In the films, his poverty is mostly characterized through costuming. Hand-me-down sweaters and robes, and a rather unfortunate set of dress robes for the Yule Ball, and other students' limited perception of him. Red hair and a hand-me-down robe? You must be a Weasley. In Hutchian's theory of adaptation, she talks about res cogitans, the space of the mind. I feel that this is lost heavily in the Harry Potter films. We get no inner dialogue or inner life of Harry, Ron, or Hermione. It can be argued that it is visually represented through hallucinations or dreams, but in truth, we get none of the feeling of what the kids go through. Because when psychic reality is shown rather than told about, it has to be made manifest in the material realm to be perceived by the audience. Basically, to explain what goes on in a character's head in a film or a game or a play, the director would have to create a physical explanation or manifestation of what's going on in that character's head, and then we lose the element of the psychic or the oral. As this practice works best in literature, and it is very hard to translate to film. Therefore, we lose most of the inner dialogue and life of Harry, Ron, and Hermione when we adapt from literature to film.